All right, hi class. So a couple things I want to go over today. I want to just a quick review on the informative speech video. In fact, a few of you have already submitted your video for the informative speech. Cool. That assignment is due on Friday. And so when you deliver that speech, I really want you to focus on a couple things. I'm really looking for good eye contact. That means that your eye should be on the camera lens, and I really want you to pretend that you're speaking to the entire class, because that really is your audience. Like if we were doing these speeches in the classroom, you'd be called on, you walk up to the front of the class, and then you deliver the speech to the class. I know it's different doing it remotely. Nobody's in your room and you're just talking to your laptop, but I want you to pretend that you're giving your speech to the entire audience. The audience is our class. And what I'm really looking for, vocal variety and eye contact, those are your two best weapons in terms of engaging the audience and maintaining their attention all the way through the presentation. And then you just want to make sure that you've got that nice conversational, personable vocal tone. And again, great way to do that is to make sure that you're constantly switching up your rate and volume. Because the opposite of that, like if your rate and volume is the same all the way through the speech, that creates a monotone, or what I also call a redundant rhythmic pattern. Every line the same. And if you speak like that, it lulls the audience to sleep. So that's why vocal variety is so important. We never want the audience to get comfortable with our rate and volume. So we're either going a little bit louder and a little bit faster on the line, or we're slowing down and we soften our tone. Also, we can mix in pauses at different places in a phrase or sentence that can break up the rhythm of the speech as well. So really focus on that vocal pattern, lots of variety. And if you do that, you'll also come across as being very conversational and very personable. And what that means is you're talking to the audience as if you were talking to a group of friends. So with the delivery for the informative speech, eye contact, vocal variety, be natural, be personal, be conversational. And as far as how you want to set up for the speech, that's completely up to you. You could do more of a podcast style like I'm doing right now. So I'm seated, looking right into the camera. Or you could stand back a little ways and stand up. But if you do that, try to make sure that your recording device, that the camera lens is kind of at eye level with your eyes. It looks kind of weird. I've seen a couple speeches where you can tell that the recording device is much lower, so you're kind of speaking down to the audience. You want it to be right about at the eye level of the audience. So for the informative speech, get that in by Friday, and I'm really looking forward to the presentation. I've seen your outlines. And by the way, as a class, you all have done such a good job just in terms of improving the quality of your outlines, especially if you think back to that first quiz on the structure of the speech right before we did the critic speech. Then you put the outlines together for the critic speech, the outlines for the informative speech. Right now, we've added the addition of incorporating sources into the outline, but for the most part, you guys have done a really good job developing those outlines. And that's such an important skill, because getting outlining down, it's going to help you in so many other aspects, not just for preparing a speech. I mean, just taking notes, if you're a little better as far as the organization and structure of your note taking, right? That can help. And you're going to do more presentations once you transfer to the 4-year level. And so you want to really get the outlining down, because that's a great way to write and prepare for a speech. And then really, even if you're writing a paper or an essay, you would just take the outline format and then write it in essay form or in paragraph form. So I would say understanding the structure and the format for public speaking is the same structure and format that you'll use when you're writing a paper. So you can use this template for the informative speech, and you can follow that for all of your essays as well, all the way through your college career. So structure, real important, and I'm very pleased with the improvements and the quality now that I'm seeing in your outlines. So nice job. Way to grind through that, way to work hard, and really nice job showing your individual improvement as you're putting your outlines together. And after the informative speech, we just have one more big speech, and that's a persuasive speech. And we're going to do the same thing that we did with the informative speech as far as we'll read all the stuff in the modules, we'll take a quiz, then we'll put together our topic proposal, an outline for the persuasive speech, and then we submit our persuasive speech video. And you'll find not a lot of difference between the informative outline format and the persuasive outline format. In fact, all we're really changing is in the body of the speech. With a persuasive speech outline, your main points are already assigned. So for the persuasive speech, your first main point will focus on the effects of the problem, right? That's the physical manifestation that tells us that something's wrong, right? So let's say you're doing a speech on climate change. Well, you begin by telling us all the negative effects, all of the bad stuff that's happening right now as a result of climate change. Then the second main point, you'll focus on the causes. What are the reasons why the problem exists? And then in the third main point, you'll present your solutions or what you are advocating that we, the audience, do. What action are you trying to persuade us to take to go out and solve the particular problem? So again, really important when you're initially coming up with a topic for your persuasive speech, you also want to consider the audience that you'll be speaking to. And so in this case too, we're going to pretend that the audience is our class. So you're coming up with topics that really relate to an audience that, some are 14 and 15, early 30s, except for the old guy grading the speeches. And so you want to make sure that you come up with a topic that relates to the demographics of the audience that you're speaking to. So with that persuasive speech, pretty similar to the informative speech, we'll have the same deal as far as 4 source citations required, 1 in the significance in the introduction for your persuasive speech outline, and then you're also required to have a source in each of your 3 main points. But with the persuasive speech, main points are assigned, effects of the problem, causes of the problem, solutions to the problem. It's really the same format that you go through anytime you go see the doctor, right? You get in, you initially see the doctor wants to know what are the symptoms, same thing, right? The effects of the problem. How do we know that something's wrong? Then the doctor will try to figure out what are the causes, why are you feeling this way? And then the doctor will come up with some solutions, something that I, the patient, can do to be able to feel a little bit better. So effects, causes, solutions, that's the problem-solving format that we're going to use in the body of the persuasive speech. So with topics, last thing I'll talk about today, you want to make sure that you come up with a really good persuasive topic. And persuasive topics take a little bit more work because you want to make sure, one, that you get a topic that relates to the specific audience. And one of the keys to a good persuasive speech is in the solutions, you want to be able to give the audience things that they can actually do. This is what I mean by you want practical, applicable solutions. A topic that won't work is one where when you get to the solutions, it's all about what they can do or what these people should do, right? Well, you're not speaking to those people. You're not speaking to they. You want to make sure that you come up with solutions that are specific to your audience that you're speaking to can actually take. And that's a little bit more challenging to come up with. Also, too, you want to stay away from topics that I call beaten like a dead horse. And these are topics that I would say are overdone as persuasive speeches. For example, I really shouldn't hear a persuasive speech on smoking cigarettes is bad. And the reason why is you're not going to tell me anything I don't already know about smoking cigarettes. I would also argue, I don't know that that topic really relates to your audience, right? I would say probably less than 25% of the people in our class smoke cigarettes. I could be wrong, but that would be a guess. So the other 75% of the people, it's like, yeah, right on, good job. I agree. Is any persuasion taking place? Probably not. And for the person who smokes, they know it's bad, right? They've seen the films in middle school. They hear it from friends and family all the time. You shouldn't smoke. It's bad for your health. Cancer sticks. It'll kill you. So I doubt at the end of your persuasive speech that someone's going to go, oh, I had no idea that smoking was bad. I'm going to have to quit. No, they already know that. Same thing with eating nutritious foods, working out on a regular basis, wearing my seatbelt. Those are all topics that we already know we should do, right? I know I should eat nutritious foods. And I either have decided to incorporate that into my diet or I ignore it. We know that we should work out. We know that fitness and health is important. But we've probably already decided, yeah, I already work out, so you're not persuading me. And I don't work out and I'm not going to, right? I know I should, but I'm just lazy. I'm not going to. So at the end of the day, probably not a lot of persuasion is going to take place. So that's kind of the trick, is you want to come up with a topic that the audience isn't completely familiar with, so you can give us some new things in the problem. A good persuasive speech, when you're focusing on the effects of the problem, you want at least with a couple, oh my God, I didn't know that. I wasn't aware of that. And so that's what you want in a good persuasive topic, where you give us something in the effects of the problem that we hadn't already heard before, right? Now we'll tune in a little bit more, and then you've also got to make sure in the solutions you come up with good, practical things that the audience can actually do. So you want to keep that in mind when you're coming up with a good topic for a persuasive speech. And I think with the persuasive speech, even more than with the informative speech, the topic is the key to being successful with this speech. So just don't take 5 minutes and hope that a good persuasive topic is going to magically fall out of the sky. You want to put some time and effort into really trying to come up with a good topic for a persuasive speech. For example, 2 semesters ago, a student in my class gave a really, I thought, compelling persuasive speech on water conservation. Talked about the negative effects and all the things that can go wrong if we run out of water, the reasons why we are experiencing more droughts. And then in the solution steps, I remember one solution in particular where the student giving the speech said, and if you really want to come up with ways to conserve water, think of saving your water when you're letting the shower warm up. And then he went on to explain, get yourself one of those Home Depot buckets, right? Put it in the shower. And then when you go to warm up the shower, it's filling up the bucket. And then you can use that water to water your plants, right? You can use it, outside for landscaping, right? Whatever you want to use it. And so what I did after I heard that speech, I started doing that. I got a couple water barrels 500-gallon water barrels that I could keep outside, started filling that up. Now, all of my landscaping, all of my watering outside of the house is from the water that I saved from the shower. That has saved me hundreds of dollars on my water bill. And if you want a good way to motivate people, get them to take action, you want to show them that it hurts them in their pocketbook, in their wallet, right? If you can convince me that doing something is going to save me money, that's usually a pretty motivating factor. So in a good persuasive speech, if you come up with something we can do that's going to save us money in the short term or the long term, that's a good persuasive topic as well. So my point is, you really want to put some time and effort. Don't wait until the last minute to come up with a good persuasive topic. It takes time to come up with a good topic. It can be kind of a frustrating process, but just grind it out like some of you did with the informative speeches. Some of you submitted 3-4 topics before we finally got a good informative topic. And with those topic proposals, and that's all about me trying to help you be as successful as possible, because I know the key to having a good informative speech, and especially the key to having a good persuasive speech, is to come up with a really good topic for those speeches. All right. Well, I've rambled on long enough. I hope this is helpful. Also, too, last thing, I sent out the announcement yesterday on the drops. And really, that was geared to folks that I haven't heard from in the last month. Folks that haven't done any work on the critic speech, haven't done any work on the informative speech. I got a couple emails from folks that are doing really well in the class. So I didn't mean to scare anyone away, but I just do that because I want to give people the opportunity to drop the class before the drop deadline. That way I don't have to give you a grade at the end of the semester. And it's much easier to drop someone and then get them reinstated in the class than it is to do a grade change later on in the next year or two. All right, I'm done. Have a good rest of your week. Those of you that haven't turned in your videos for your informative speech, make sure you get on that. Those are due on Friday, and then we'll talk to you again next Wednesday. You guys are doing great. I love this class. Keep grinding, keep working hard. And just remember, the work that you put into this class really has a maximum benefit and a maximum reward because you're developing skills that you're going to use for the rest of your life. That's the cool thing about public speaking. What you learn is both practical and applicable. We'll see you later.